on TV. The first item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion.
Moved by Pat. Second by John. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Unanimous of
One, yeah.
four, one abstention. Okay, we're gonna hold the 81Ps to the end of the meeting, so the next one will be the trail. Boy, you got pushed right to the front.
No, that's great. Chad Boardman represents Eastland Partners, developers of Milford, Stone Ridge, Walden Woods, of course. We're moving actually quite well out there. We had a few issues, like I said the last time, and the board said maybe if you could bring those in, and actually we've hashed almost all of them out. Bonnie's been fantastic. If there's things that come up on the fly within a few days, we typically come to a resolution, meet out in the field, and make a determination and continue to go forward, which is great. As of today, we were back down towards the Mount Pleasant section towards the Catholic school, and that's totally been completed and excavated out. We had to go down a couple more feet to get some unsuitables. We're actually underneath the railroad tracks, believe it or not. So we took care of that, and we're down at where we left off, where it is actually paved down there. We're going to be graveling the section near Friendly's and going approximately, how many feet? About 800 or so to the water crossing, which will be pavement. So you'll see that in the next 2 weeks. What we'll do, once that's paved, we're already getting a lot of foot traffic and bicycle traffic, believe it or not.
Really?
Some guy was actually walking a kid on a stroller, believe it or not, the other day down there, which was kind of bizarre, but what we'll do is we'll barricade off a few of the sections of the trail, of course. That definitely has to happen there.
That's going to be an obstacle for them, you know that.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't
Definitely
expecting the baby stroller, but
Lots of use.
nothing surprises me. So it's still on course to finish. We'd like to finish, obviously, in October. We had a later timeline to possibly do the porous section, but I think that's going to slide up actually in schedule, believe it or not. I think we wouldn't do that a little faster than what was anticipated. So that's a good thing. In approximately probably about 2 weeks, we're going to go in and do this section with the town. The highway department's going to give us some materials, and we're going to do that O'Leaguer's intersection. So we're going to be more or less ripping up the existing trail or and putting a pipe across and doing a dike and some other things with Bonnie's help, and of course Scotty from the highway department. With that said, that's pretty much it. It's going actually quite well, and like I said, I do compliment Bonnie, who's been tremendously helpful and tentative and meeting out there on the fly, which obviously saves us a lot of money, and of course for the town, quick decision. It just makes us go faster.
Excellent.
Blasting's all been done. I wasn't anticipating a lot of blasting we were doing, but we managed to get through that safely, and that's all been removed and excavated and carried forth, I should say.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Are you done all across Haywood Street, all the way on Haywood Street?
Pretty much the whole area is already excavated, just ready for gravel, and that's what we're going to be starting to do. The porous pavement has some extra lifts of different types of material, but we've actually excavated out some of the suitables. We went deeper and put back, better rock. Compacted it,
Yeah, I've
and
seen
then we're
it.
going to start our good stuff now. So it didn't make any sense to leave crappy material in there, of course.
Good, that's great.
The schedule, we had talked about that the last meeting you were here.
Yep.
Have you produced that yet?
I think I did it originally. I think that was the first round.
Updated schedule and everything?
Not an updated one, just the same one we've had.
Can you give an updated one with what's
Yeah.
been completed, what still needs to be done?
Yeah.
Because again, if I recall, it's September 30th, or is it October 1st?
Yeah, October
First.
14th.
Oh, no, I don't, I'm even, I think it was 1st. No, just,
Yeah, no.
it would be helpful as,
August, yeah.
before you know, we're gonna be in August, and then,
Yeah, there's only a few months left.
And that's why it would be helpful if you just give submit it to Larry.
Just
Yeah, I will.
email it to me and I can help it.
Okay, no problem.
Very good.
Anybody else on the board? Yes.
No, that's.
Larry, the finance committee is set on the funding needs for the,
That's all been taken care of.
taken care of.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. No,
Thanks,
thank
Chad.
Okay.
Okay. Site plan review for the Woodland School.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
again, just for the record, I'd like to publicly disclose that I am a member of the school building committee as well as member of the planning board.
And I'm also a member of the school building committee and a member of the planning board. So, is that okay, John? Then you overrule me anyway. yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have Matt LaRue from our architectural firm take over the site plan presentation.
This isn't town meeting, you don't need our
Gonna
permission.
get me to do it.
Want to vote?
Thank you for having us. Matt LaRue from HMSH Architects. I have with me other members from my design team, Josh Bergel, who's a landscape architect from Crosby, Stetson, Small Ridge. Nate Ketchell from Garcia Duluth D'Souza, he's the civil engineer on the project. We've been working closely both with our building committee and the departments in town over last probably over a year now. And recently, we submitted our set of plans to the town planner, to Larry, and he's given us back the comments that he received from different town departments. I think you have a copy of those in your package. And we've done, in addition, Larry's given us his own comments. And over the last week or so, and especially in the last few days, we've done what we think, everything that we can be able to do to respond to those comments. And so there's been a few changes to the drawings since the time that the plans were submitted. But we'll highlight those as we walk you through the plan. So now I'm going to turn it over to Josh to present to you the layout of the site.
Thanks, Matt. I'm going to go fairly quickly because I think you guys have a pretty comprehensive package in front of you and you're all well aware of what the school is. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and we'll go forward. We sent out in our original package all these colorful drawings. You still have those with you.
They're not colorful, but they're black and white.
Black and white. Yeah. Okay, that's not very helpful. So, I'll walk you through the site plan that you can't see.
Larry, that's made,
Well, we're trying to get it on camera, so.
I understand that, but if he's gonna
I
talk
understand the
about it, I
camera.
think we need to see it more so than the camera, but
If you didn't bring the
Sorry.
small ones.
That's right.
No.
All right. Well, go ahead.
In fact, this might be easier to see. This is my landscaping plan, which is very colorful. The school is located down here at the southern end of the site. The North Vine Street runs along the north side. The proposal is to have two entrances, one for parents and service vehicles, a second for bus and accessible parking and staff. So in this location. So that's for parents and buses. The parents loop is one way in, as per recent discussion with the town departments, going to a two-lane configuration after this initial island. And the two-lane configuration is sized to accommodate up to 88 vehicles for queuing, so that queuing doesn't back up onto North Vine Street. So there's that, plus the 53 parking spaces within the parking area here is enough to accommodate all of the pickup and drop off vehicles. Pickup and drop off happens along these three sides of this area, around the outside of the parking area. Students who get out of a vehicle will walk along the sidewalk and then into the front entrance, into the main entrance of the school. Anybody who needs to park can park here, walk across this crosswalk, and then on into the school. If you're arriving in a bus, the route is along through here. We have 12 buses at the school projected, but we have room for 13. So there's some flexibility in the arrangement of the parking for the buses, which is great news. In addition to those 13 spaces, we have 2 van accessible spaces along the curbside. So the special needs or van can stop and let students on or off at that location. And that's directly in front of the school with a flush curb and then bollards to protect from cars driving up onto the sidewalk. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The size of the bus loop is determined primarily by the stormwater pond, which exists on the site in the middle here. Nate's going to talk later about how that's being sized to accommodate all the stormwater drainage on the site. So I'm not going to go into that. In addition, at the bus loop are 7 parking spaces for accessible use. So if you have business at the school and need to park for longer term than the short term pickup and drop off, we have 7 spaces of parallel parking spaces there. Some with right side aisles and some with the required left side aisles. Does that make sense? Okay. 133 staff parking spaces are over here on the northeast side of the site. A sign at the entrance will indicate that accessible staff and bus use only for this loop. Also off of this loop is the fire access that runs around the entire school and then back out here. That will be a mountable curb at that location. We've run all the auto turn calculations and the Milford trucks can get through. Service for the school is on a daily basis is through the service entrance here off of the parent pickup and drop off loop that goes to the west side by the cafetorium. That's where garbage and sort of the daily delivery is happening. And then exiting for the service vehicles would be through a hammerhead sort of arrangement and then back out along that way. Let's see. The pedestrian access from North Vine Street, we have basically 3 access ways. A new path that runs from the northwest corner. An existing path is open here today, and we're just extending it through this field, and then through a raised crossing across the parent pickup and drop-off route, and then down to the school. And then a third access is along the existing sidewalk from the east that runs then south past the staff lot to the school again. This big field up here in the northwest corner is a synthetic soccer field sized for soccer play. We're looking at all of the high school rules, although this is primarily for the school. It's accessed accessibly from a walk here, and there are 3 accessible parking spaces as close as possible to the soccer field, 2 van accessible, and 1 a traditional accessible parking space. And this is a traditional crosswalk with curb ramps. There's a 100-foot offset line for school uses within a residential district, and we obey that 100%. The only things that transgress it are walkways and driveways. So, and then the fire lane as well. So, required uses. And then the last thing to talk about is all the green on this plan. The dark green is existing forest. Lighter green is planted space. We are proposing planting quite a few trees. We have the required amount of trees for parking. In general, we're keeping them out of spaces where snow is to be pushed. So in the center aisle here, and then around the perimeter out here. We basically 22 trees are shown in those 2 locations, and we need 20. So we're about we're right on as far as the tree count. We're trying to preserve a bunch of existing trees. When you drive into the school, there's the circle. We're trying to preserve some of those trees that are in that circle because they're pretty great trees, and we can do it. It also happens to help some of our wetland requirements. The last thing, before I let Nate stand up, is we have a parking lot in here that we're calling our bus parking, and that's included as an ad alternate. So that's if the town wants to, in the future, build a parking lot in that space, then they can. They can. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pat, go ahead, you stop.
No, go ahead, I'll let,
Okay, I got a couple, in the existing soccer field that we're gonna build a school in right now,
Yes.
is there not a rest area, restrooms and a concession stand?
There's a concession stand. Matt, do you know if there are restrooms in it?
Yes, it has a toilet.
So we have no plans on building them for,
We have not been asked by the building committee to include concessions.
I mean, it just seems if you had them there, they're necessary, again, it's gonna be a field that's gonna be used quite a bit in the school, so it's just something I would think of, but again, your committee. The trees along the, no, down here, down further, right there,
Here?
yes.
Yes.
Are those are new trees, right?
Yes, the dark
Okay.
green are new trees.
Why are they planted, so close to the roadway? They should be pushed away and made room for the snow plows to push the snow.
Okay, sure.
What you're doing there is you're choking the snowplow operators,
Okay, let me explain the snowplow operator's position, because we've been working closely with him, and I appreciate the comment. He is talking about using the exterior drive to enter this space and plow to the north. That's why there are no trees between the soccer field and the parking lot. So his thinking is to plow everything out this way. There's approximately 25 feet, or
Can't
20,
go in that direction anyways, babe, because he's got the sidewalk there.
right, and there is sidewalk
You don't
all the
want to
way
push
around.
Top of the sidewalk and then move it out of the sidewalk anyways. The other side doesn't have an active sidewalk, so we can
you
push to the
push it
north.
right over the sidewalk and everything, but it's
Yeah.
okay. As long as if they've looked at it and
Yeah, we've been very careful to
they,
avoid putting any trees in harm's
I
way.
think Scott had comments on that, babe, and.
yeah, I did see the comments on the, on Scott that had. Okay, that's all I got right now. Lena?
No, I'll wait till everybody else has a chance to speak.
not right now.
Go ahead. Okay, Joe?
No, I didn't have anything, I was just looking at Scott's comments. Did you address all of Scott's comments as part of these?
Yes.
I think,
Go ahead.
you're gonna read these?
Where are you located in the handicap parking?
There are 7 spaces, 4 here and 3 here, associated with the bus lot, and then 3 over here in the parent pickup and drop off.
Okay, because I got confused, because at one point I thought you had said that that was for short-term parking, but it is handicap, correct?
The short-term spaces are right here, and we're not counting those as spaces. That's just temporary pickup and drop off.
Okay, now
But they are
I'm
accessible.
slightly confused for 1 second, because
Yes.
in the beginning you said that you have signage that restricts, it says buses and staff, if you will,
Buses, staff, and accessible use.
which would be
Handicap.
handicap, correct?
Yes.
But if you have 7 and then 3 more is 10, what's the site required to have?
6, I believe.
Okay, so why would you need temporary more, I'm just confused why you would need temporary spots.
There was a request to have van spaces for. that
When you
would be
say
accessible.
vans, are we talking about like
Accessible.
school vans?
School vans.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with, okay, so that's, let's not confuse the issue by calling it something other than it's accessible use, which is going to be part of a school van, school bus, so, okay.
Sorry to confuse.
You let it to almost seem that there's also going to be some sort of permitted short-term parking there, which is not what
That's-
you're saying.
That's right.
Okay,
I'm not saying.
just wanted to clarify that was all.
That was one of my questions.
I thought something changed, but that's, okay. Who was your verbiage?
Whoever's next then.
I'm good.
You're good?
Can I ask you questions?
Yes.
Well,
I don't
know.
I don't know.
Speak to the chairman, please. All right. All right now.
Not yet.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nathan Ketchell. I'm with Garcia, Gluskin, D'Souza, the civil engineers on the project. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the utilities involved with the site. Obviously, the biggest one is the storm drainage on the site. The existing site does have a series of deep sump catch basins, which are directed to an underground drainage network, which are then piped to the existing detention pond, just to the southeast of the existing school building. In addition, there's a swale that runs behind the existing school around the parking lot and then also into that pond. Under the proposed conditions, we're going to be utilizing a series of deep sump catch basins, followed by an underground piped drainage network, which will be sent to a hydrodynamic stormwater separator for total suspended solids treatment of the runoff. The runoff will then discharge to an enlarged detention pond located at the location of the existing one, with a piped overflow that will run to the east around the new building and then connect to the existing municipal drainage system as the existing pond had done. In addition to the pond, which collects the new turf playing field, the new staff parking lot, and the parent drop-off and visiting parking lot. In addition to that, we do have a subsurface drainage system to the south of the school building that will pick up the building itself, as well as a catch basin within the service driveway. The artificial turf field runoff will be put through another hydrodynamic stormwater quality unit for total suspended solids removal. In addition to the stormwater, there are obviously a bunch of other utilities, including new municipal water source. What we will do is, it's been proposed that we will loop the entire building with a series of fire hydrants for fire protection purposes. That water main will be fed from Cypress Street, as well as the existing main that is brought onto the school property. That will actually be an improvement. It does allow for pressure differentials between the two mains, the one on North Vine as well as on Cypress, to basically back each other up in case of a failure. Based on conversations with David Condrey, we have discussed a couple of changes that he had wanted made to the system, including 2 additional gate valves for isolating the site while still keeping it operational, as well as the method of connection at the existing water main at the existing school in the driveway. As well, we will be bringing a new natural gas service from North Vine Street along the bus loop driveway and then to the service area of the building. That gas will also be feeding a natural gas generator on the site. Finally, I guess we do have a new sewer system. The building will be connected to the municipal sewer in Cypress. We will be providing a grease interceptor for the building because of the kitchen, and that's actually the starting point of the sewer system. So basically the system will run along the west side of the building to the south, collecting a couple of locations on the building and then discharging to the existing municipal sewer in Cypress. And then finally, there are a series of site lights associated with the parking lots. This project is a lead project, so there are requirements for basically zero intrusion of light onto abutting properties. Any light that is near a residential property will have will be shielded to prevent any light from intruding onto those properties. I believe as part of the first submission, we did include a photometric calculation indicating the lumens associated with each of the lights and their trespass. Along with the lights, a new power supply will be provided. The telephone and electricity will be connected to an existing electrical and telephone manhole in the existing school's driveway that has been coordinated with the local electric company. So they have given their blessing on that. That service will run from the existing, or the proposed bus loop driveway around, and then also come in the service area of the building with a new oil-contained pad-mounted transformer, and as well as all the other telephone and communications associated with the site. That's it.
All right. Any questions?
Is the field lit?
No, it is not.
You providing for connections and future lighting?
That can be done. Right now, we are not.
I would suggest that be done at a minimum. As to why it wouldn't be lit, I'm not sure, considering if we're putting in a turf field, I would think we'd want to get maximum use out of it, so I'm not sure why it isn't lit. What's the elevation of the turf field compared to the existing elevation out there?
The turf field, I believe the crown of the field is at 518 and a half. The existing grade surrounding the building is, unfortunately I need to look at this, it's approximately 522 around the building. So there will be some material cutting associated with that area.
Did you do groundwater elevations out there?
There were, at the turf field?
Mm-hmm.
I believe we have test pit data from an area of the site over by the building. I'm unclear on what exactly the groundwater was located at.
I'd just be worried that you've got a field where you can't take high groundwater in it because you're gonna lose the field, and you're cutting that elevation into the field.
At the northeast corner of the field, we're at existing grade because we're adjacent to the wetland, so we can't raise or lower the field. It's set by that point.
My concern still remains then that you're putting in a turf field that can't take high groundwater, and if you lose, if the underdrains aren't functioning too well, you're gonna lose the field.
Correct. I'll verify exactly what the elevations were observed for groundwater or seepage. An option would be to potentially put a poly liner underneath the turf field to prevent runoff or groundwater from pooling underneath the field. There is a an under drainage system which will consist of a 2-inch by 12-inch flat drain run outwards to these collector trenches on the edges. So whatever runoff falls on the field or potential groundwater upwelling will be collected by or intercepted by these drains and then piped over to these trenches, which are 4 feet wide and probably approximately 4 feet deep. It varies with the invert elevation of a perforated pipe in here, which will, essentially the field is its own peak flow attenuation source. So as the runoff drains from the field into these trenches, that runoff will build up within the perimeter trenches and then discharge to the detention pond.
Yeah, it'd be much, I would assume the regular drainage, you're not gonna have as much of an issue, but with the groundwater elevations you may have, because that site is, got high groundwater.
So I will verify exactly where the test pits were in terms of depth to groundwater. And then if need be, we can add a liner underneath the field.
That's all I have.
The separator valves on the water, how many separation valves? You putting 2 in?
Well, there's going to be one where the connection to the existing 8-inch main in the school driveway is. At the point where it's connecting into the loop, we'll do a 3-way so that you can isolate either, one side or the other with the 3 valves. There's another 3 valve series where we're connecting to Cypress. Then at the request of the water department, we added one just prior to the sprinkler water, the sprinkler service, and then an additional one over here. The goal was to be able to isolate only 2 hydrants at a time in case there was something that needed to be repaired. That way you could either isolate one side or the other, or even just a segment of the piping.
Again, the separation should be so you maintain water into the building at all times, no matter where the line breaks around the building. This is one of the problems we had with our high school. And you couldn't shut off the water, you had to shut off the whole school.
Right, and what could be done, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What can be done is the domestic for the building and the fire service are located at the southwest corner. So what could be done is if there's a break somewhere over in this area here, between these isolation valves and here, what could be done is, actually, I'm sorry, that would be the one potential. I'm sorry, if it were to, yes, I understand.
I don't
what
want
you're
that
saying.
one potential.
Yeah.
What I'll do, I'll add one additional valve, which will be located just to the north of this domestic line. That way, if you did have a break or an issue with the hydrant over on this side, you could shut off that valve and maintain the feed from this location. And if it's right over here, then you could do the opposite.
Hydrants I'm not worried about, I realize the fire department's worried about, but I'm worried about the school being in operation and during the day. I've seen it happen, we had to throw in
An
like
additional
3
valve.
valves to do it, and it shouldn't, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right so it'll be covered.
Yeah, I will add one more valve just to the north of the domestic, that way. it
And
can be
then
isolated.
go over and just look at the scenarios as you're looking at your plans and scenarios and see the ones.
Yeah, I'll discuss this with
Please.
David as well.
Also, you get a letter from the sewer department, have you gone to the sewer department?
We have submitted to the sewer department. I have not received any kind of comments from them to date.
You given the information on the grease interceptor?
We had reviewed the requirements of the sewer department. We did size the grease interceptor per their requirements. It remains, I believe, a 6,000 gallon unit.
It's, again, we won't sign it until we get a letter from them.
I understand. I'll put a call into to them tomorrow.
That's all I get right now. Yes, Larry?
Dave, it was my understanding from John that plan appeared acceptable, but the board hadn't had a chance to formally approve it at a meeting. And their meeting is coming, I don't remember the exact date, but,
I get yelled at, so.
yeah, I know. So if it's any consolation.
I'm still eating Foster Forbes right now.
So if it's any consolation, at least it appears that what they've prepared will be acceptable once the full board meets.
Okay.
Yes, these drawings, we did have a pre-submission meeting with the sewer department as well as the water department and the other various departments. And the comments that were provided at that time have been integrated into these drawings, which included increasing the size of the sewer main as well as adjusting our method of calculation for that crease interceptor.
That all the presentations? Anybody else got any other questions? Young gentleman over here, you had a question.
Yeah, maybe about the.
Sir, you need to identify your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Jian Gao. I live in 17 Senator Road, neighborhood.
17 Senator.
Yeah. So I look at the chart. So about this chart, mean about this road.
Just hang it up there so everyone can see and.
Okay. In the previous proposal, I think that this road, the street connect to this, right? Here you have the curve. Do you think it's necessary for the change?
Right. That's a good question. This did change subsequent to our last presentation because there's a wetland here, and in order to avoid damaging this wetland, we were able to relocate that roadway to just to the west. So that avoids about 2,300 square feet of wetland replication that we're going to avoid. So it's a big deal.
It's a big deal for my house. Because
Okay.
This is my house here.
Yes.
So that's why you don't have to cut up many trees.
I can also explain something about that. The existing parking lot that is here is
Yes.
going to be taken out and just planted over.
Okay.
So you will get more vegetation on this side. There is an existing pathway that runs through here.
Right, that
through
pathway
here.
is
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
So that's existing, but you
Yeah.
move here about very close to the boundary.
All right, yeah.
You will lose some trees there.
Okay, this is not a public hearing, but we will take some, first of all, from the
Hi,
commission.
Harold Rhodes, 11 Janet Road, Commission on Disability. Mr. Chairman, we submitted some comments with regard to this site plan, and I'm wondering if the engineers can review the specific comments that we made.
You haven't gotten that.
Those comments are here.
Have-
They're simple comments.
Have the comments
We've
been?
done that.
Yes, the comments have been incorporated.
Incorporated them.
He explained that when he did the presentation.
He did.
Well, I couldn't quite see when it was being presented that
Yeah, but-
forward. Am I understanding still that the parking for in front of the school will still be on the other side of the street?
Yes.
And the parking along the, I guess, the other side of the retaining pond, if you could just point to it,
Yeah.
there's gonna be handicap parking there?
Yes, there are
And
7 spaces.
7 spaces there, and how many along the,
Well, there are 3 and 4. so
Three
7
and
total.
4. Mr. Chairman, in the strongest way possible, we object. The commission objects to this plan. As explained at the subcommittee hearing, the building committee, it's just a very dangerous situation to have children and parents exiting out into a roadway when, even if it is just for a small bit of time through bus drivers. You know, all of us are familiar with persons who are injured through automobile accidents, and we've all seen that happen. This is a chance for us to avoid over the next 30 years, someone being hit inadvertently by a truck, by a bus. I had a long discussion about this topic with the superintendent, and he certainly understands and agrees with this point. I am very worried that over the next 30 years, there will be a family exiting the van along that side into that street, and there will be a bus come and strike the child. And that is our concern.
Thank you.
Can I just ask
Certainly.
where would you prefer the handicap parking to be?
We suggested that the parking as it is at other locations, as it should be, on the side directly accessible to the school. So when a van ramp exits,
Yeah, but unfortunately, a bus ramp, this is a bus loop. And unfortunately, the side that opens is opposite of what we'd expect. So I think that they've given some serious consideration into putting handicap parking closest to the building as humanly possible. And I think they've also gone the next step with really only allowing that drive access to be utilized by buses. Now, forgive me, anything's possible, but I think in that general location, a school bus whose job and designation is to pick up kids is certainly not going to use that as a racetrack. And I think that does it solve it 100%? Probably not. But is it pretty close? Yeah. And I don't see that someone who has a disability who parks at a handicapped spot is going to be in any jeopardy, any more jeopardy there than if they were down at Cole's parking lot, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see the hazard as deeply as you do. And again, maybe I'm missing something, I don't see it.
if the chairman and the committee would allow more time, I would go into it in more detail. But I do understand there's a limited amount of time. The commission stands by its objection.
Good.
Next.
Anybody else have a comment?
Well, can I just add something if it's not already clear?
Okay, go
We
ahead.
were attempting, I think, to address all their concerns. We have provided a zone on the school side that is for drop-off, so people in vans, students in vans arriving in vans could get dropped off safely at the curb with a ramp. And then with the spaces on the other side of the loop, we've provided one of the zones to have a clear access aisle on the outside, which provides a buffer against any vehicles traveling in the loop and people exiting those parked vehicles.
Okay.
Okay. It's the pleasure of the board.
I have just another,
By all
if I
means.
may. Can you just bring the map a little closer to where you spoke of future expansion of the parking lot?
Sure.
Yeah, did you calculate the drainage necessary for that, and have you built it in as part of the plan?
Yes.
Okay, so where would the drainage there be, or then be, I should say?
Well, that's a question for Nate.
Don't go too far with that.
No.
So we have included,
Come to this one, it's a little easier for me to see this one, if you don't mind.
Is this close enough?
Because this one's in color, it's a little easier.
He's Irish, he likes the green.
Yeah, I know.
we, as part of our drainage calculations, we did include this area associated with the future parking lot as impervious. We did model it and actually provide a catch basin, which will be installed under a base contract in the southwest corner of that lot. So the expectation is that the runoff will come down and be intercepted at that location.
Okay, so it's already built in, and it's already
Yes.
calculated in.
Yes, and we own the
One other question. The Babe had referenced restrooms.
Yeah.
I guess the question to that, is there any interest in putting in perhaps a concrete pad? Because I think more and more have been favoring the porta toilets
Well-
because they're only a
I know.
interim type of thing, and I know Joe had mentioned
Okay, the thing.
provisions for
that's
lighting,
good too.
so
To be honest, I think
I think
it's up to them, but my feeling is that for approval, we need to have provisions for restroom facilities at that field, be it if they decide that it's porta toilets or if they want to put in a building. A concession stand, I think, is totally up to them. I wouldn't
That's
say yes or no,
subjective.
but I believe that to make that thing useful, we should have restroom facilities at that location. How that's done, I would leave up to them, but there's nothing shown as of right now, and I wouldn't be in favor of it the way it is.
And I will tell you, the provisions for lighting is we didn't really think that it was something that was incumbent upon the school building to get involved with that, and that's why we stayed away from it. But again, to make provisions, I'm not phased one way or the other, but,
I look at this may be the school's building, but I look at this as
No,
the
it's
town's
a-
building.
yeah.
And I look at the people of the town that are gonna use it, and to me, to make the full use of that, at a minimum, it should have the electrical put in, but I fully believe that it should be lit.
okay.
Question, the existing sewer
Yes.
from the existing school, where is,
That is located up on the northeast side of the existing building.
Right by it.
I believe it runs right through
Okay.
this area here under an existing walkway.
okay, when that, and the existing water is not near it?
The existing water, actually, this one is a little difficult for me to.
Because it's in green.
Yeah, this is actually the existing conditions plan provided by the surveyor. So the existing sewer, if I can figure it out upside down, runs from this wing of the building up to North Vine Street.
Okay.
The existing water, the 8-inch service comes from the existing entrance under the driveway and runs over to the building, and then that line does a loop around the building with a series of hydrants.
Okay. Somewhere over the existing, when you have to cap the existing sewer anyway.
Correct.
And you should have a water service tapped off and brought to approximately the same area. And then if you wanted to, if there was, in the future, if there was for the restrooms, you have it there without tearing everything up. It's already there now, so that's gonna be done. And also, if you just put a pad and put the porta potties,
Again, I'm not speaking for the
Yeah.
Parks Department, but ultimately, the Parks Department is the one who maintains the property. And again, this is when you get into multi-divisional,
Again.
multi-departments. And it appears to me that more and more they've been going to porta toilets than they have.
I understand, but
Facilities.
you've got the facilities there for it.
You wanna run it, go ahead and run it. I-
They're underground, if you don't use them, they're not hurting anything.
One thing I did
Yes.
fail to.
What?
He's not finished.
Okay, one thing I didn't mention is that as part of the project, we are providing a drinking fountain up at the turf field, so I could discuss with our plumbing engineers the feasibility of increasing the size of that line and providing a cap up in that area for a potential future.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a member of the consultant team. I'm with the owner's project manager, Justin Lesser. My name is
David,
David
oops,
Chris.
sorry.
So, just to get back to these questions about lighting and restroom
Jocelyn.
facilities and so forth, just for the record, you know, as you know, this project is a partnership with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and they govern in some degree the scope and the budget and what we can spend money on. The MSBA has a sort of mantra that says, we're building schools, not athletic facilities. And they have already said that they will not participate in the cost of the turf field beyond grass. We as a project team think turf is wise for the town, you'll get much more use out of it. But they will not participate. Lighting the field, they will not participate. And if we do add that scope, it will come at the expense of school program. We are on a finite budget, and at the moment, we believe that the budget and the scope are directly aligned. I would estimate from the Uxbridge High School project, which I manage, that the lighting of a field of that nature would be in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $300,000. And that would come directly out of some other school program. I may not be perfect in that number, but that was the number we used for Uxbridge. It can't be too far off. Running empty conduit is still a fairly considerable cost to the potential future lighting stanchions, although it's certainly less than the light poles and the wire in them and the transformer and everything that goes with it. You may have a better sense of these numbers, but that would be my sense. Similarly, running plumbing lines out there is rather expensive. A concrete pad for a future porta potty is not a huge expense. You know, if that's the will of the committee, I'm sure we could do something small like that.
But you're not running, you got the piping there.
Well, all we have now is a small water line.
Well, that,
Running plumbing for,
no, I'm not asking to run plumbing, I'm just saying to cap off, have it there and run the water. If you're gonna put a drinking fountain there, you're gonna have at least a 1-inch main because you use a 1-inch meter. And that would be more than enough for the restrooms if they needed them in the future. So you got the pipes there. I'm not saying build the restrooms or anything like that.
we can certainly.
But don't have to tear up something, if,
No, we understand.
say the soccer association, or whatever, who built the other field, wanted to do something there and with the school, let's not tear something up when we have the
We
utilities
understand the
there.
concept that you don't wanna go in the ground again, you don't wanna rip up roads and paths, the expensive infrastructure to run conduit or whatever you need in the future. And we can look at what's involved, but we have to understand also that with this budget, it's a direct trade. You know, we put in 10,000, we take something else out. It's a zero-sum game, so we're just cautious about that.
At a minimum, there's no way I can support it without having the electrical conduits in. I mean, at this point in time, the cost of that, compared to what it would be in the future for the town to do it, is astronomical. Considering the amount of work that you're gonna have to do with that field, to have to run conduit in there now is nothing. What would you have to do in the future is tremendous.
We will certainly figure out what the lowest scope to enable the future is. Sometimes at the minimum, you get beyond any roads, and go run the conduit at least beyond any paved areas, so that you would not have to disrupt those again.
One of the things that we actually, Jonathan Bruce, I'm the vice chair of the building committee. This discussion is not new to us. And we recognize that it may be much more cost effective to run a separate service, to bring a separate service in from North Vine than to try to run conduits all the way back to the new school.
But either way, you'd have a minimum of 4 light poles, you know, to do the field. You'd have to circumvent.
You have to circle the field around, but you can certainly circle the field around with conduit now at a relatively.
Go down both sides of
Yeah.
it from North Vine. so-
Well, yeah, I don't care where you get the service from, Jonathan, I mean, but in order to circle the field now with conduit is relatively cheap money.
Empty conduit,
Yeah.
running down both sides of the field.
Right, but even then, we'd have to find out what.
Excuse me, David, I hate to be crass about this, but the board, the planning board does not get involved with the concepts of costs associated with what you're trying to do. But ultimately, since you need their approval, I hear what you're saying, but you're not listening to what he's telling you. He's not gonna approve it without certain things, so I just,
Get it under advisement, let's go back.
We'll
Yeah.
come back.
Okay.
Take it under advisement, let us.
well, no, we're not the zoning board, we don't do that, we don't run and hide.
No.
We can continue it, Jonathan.
We're gonna continue.
Continue it,
No,
Jonathan.
no, we're just taking it under advisement, that's all.
This gentleman has another question.
What does he want now?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, so I just look at thinking about the design, but not from, I just thinking about this. What's the traffic flow from this side go to this, right?
That's an access road, sir, for.
Yeah, this access, right.
No, the one you keep pointing to is nothing more, no. The one that's gonna be by your house is nothing more than an access road.
What I'm thinking about this.
Yes,
this
that's an
road.
access road
Yeah,
for deliveries.
access about this immediately about go to the cafeteria. Then the truck go back to this road, right?
Just a delivery truck,
Yeah, they came here, then go back from here.
yes.
The traffic flow is like this, right?
Yes.
From this direction, from this? But you think about here, so when we design the traffic in the T, yes, the intersection, we always have the traffic light because they drive blank, right? From this.
That's a parking lot though,
Even
sir.
the parking lot still have some traffic because you build the road here. So traffic is directed here. When you return the truck from here to this direction, you have to come back up more than maybe the 120 degrees. So usually that's why it's against the traffic. So that's why it's very difficult. It's very easy to get the traffic accident. Trust me. I studied in civil engineering for many years.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, I've just discussed it with the Vice Chair and our architect. We will bring back to our board on the 30th the recommendation that conduits go on either side of the playing field, excuse me, and that we do provide access to water at that particular facility. And while we're doing the water, we'll put a drain pipe into for whatever kind of storage. Now, we're not going to get involved in lights. We're not going to get involved in any of that because we're building the school. And at some point in time, someone else from the town, if it's decided that lights need to go up there or facilities need to go in, the infrastructure will be available, but it will be up to someone else to do that. As far as the building committee is concerned, we will certainly take Mr. Calagioni's suggestion to heart and run the conduit and leave it to others down the road, however many years down the road that may be.
This was our intent anyway, not to tell the school building committee how to build a school or what to build. We just let's take advantage of what we have for utilities there.
We understand that, Mr. Chairman. Basically, what we'd like to do is just move this project along so we don't have to delay what we're doing. But so long as we understand our primary job is to build a school, the field is there, but we will certainly take that advice and install the conduits.
So tonight, you're going to tell the planning board tonight that the condiments will be there?
Yes.
And there'll be no continuance?
Yes, we continue the meeting.
We'd like to continue the meeting.
The committee will support that.
We're gonna take it under advisement.
That's so
I move we take it under advisement and discuss it at the next meeting,
which is,
August 14th?
August 12th.
August 12th.
I made the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved by John to take it under advisement until August 12th.
Continue it to the next one, yeah.
No, not continue, we're not having a public
No,
hearing.
that move, yeah, whatever.
And seconded by Lena. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous of
You
5.
continue with the discussion.
I cleared the house.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing is a zoning board, ZBA special permit for 39 Emmons Street.
Go to number 5, paper.
Number 5, yes.
Well, actually, hey, Larry, Josh, can you make sure the one other thing is that you look at the groundwaters when you come back?
Absolutely.
Thanks. He may know, I'm flooding out Tufts he works on the Green Line job, so I know him. I'm flooding out Tufts, and that's one of the issues is they're worried they're gonna lose their field.
How you gonna cut in an area that's too low?
That's what I'm worried about. That's why I wanna see what the groundwater, what they got for readings.
Over here, block wall.
Let's continue.
Okay, next.
Okay, special request, for a special permit for a supplemental apartment within an existing family dwelling.
Again, on this one, there is no plan of how they're going to configure it within the dwelling.
No, there is no. This is strictly a apartment, to build an apartment?
I don't know. I know it's a single-family home, and it looks like they're gonna put a supplementary, but
Yeah.
they're not showing where or how or
No, but they're just gonna put an apartment.
somewhere.
I don't think they're making, it doesn't look like they're making any outside changes.
But they're not showing us internally what they're doing either, so I don't know what they're doing.
It said a minor addition to the existing house.
What
That's
is
gonna be
it?
outside.
Can't see it from the plan, so I guess I agree with Larry that in
I
that
agree.
case, you really
Yeah.
can't make, you really can't make heads or tails out of what's going on. I mean, if they're doing anything on the outside, it becomes an issue because they gotta make
First of all,
sure
just
it
to
looks.
make an apartment for an apartment.
You can't do.
You can't do
You
that.
can't do it.
You gonna make a motion, Joe? Or you want me to?
I'll make a motion, we send an unfavorable recommendation to zoning board based on the fact that there's not enough information provided in the request.
Second.
Second, moved by Joe, seconded by Pat. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous of 5.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 6, special permit, Geneseo Circle. The applicant requests a special permit to establish a kennel in addition to the existing single-family dwelling on the subject property.
Stuff like me.
Uh,
Kent Street.
I don't understand what's going on here. She says she has 4 dogs, so she needs a license. I don't understand this one.
How many?
The bylaw requires over, if you have that many animals, that effectively you're running a kennel according to the bylaw, even though she's physically not gonna be running a kennel, she's just keeping her 4 dogs, is what it amounts to.
This is sometimes where the bylaw gets confusing, because if you give her a permit, then she's allowed to run a kennel.
Well, I think that's sort of where Larry was going with the thing, is,
The definition of a kennel, she qualifies as a kennel, so if she wants to keep 4 dogs at her house, she needs a special permit. She calls it a license, that's not a zoning term, so she appears to be confused, but she hasn't filled out any information on the application or provided any plan other than the plot.
I'm gonna go unfavorable on this one. I'll make a motion for unfavorable.
I'll second that. I'll second that, Pat.
Moved by Pat, seconded by Lena, we send an unfavorable recommendation to the zoning board.
She doesn't say how many dogs?
Any
Four.
further-
it's in the thing.
But there's not, what kind of a building? if
We don't
there's a
know.
building?
Yeah, I don't think she plans on doing anything, I just think she plans on keeping the dogs inside the house.
Should, again, that should be
Yeah.
put out. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the unfavorable recommendation?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous of 5. Yes, sir.
No, I wasn't sure if you were continuing.
No, I haven't forgotten that.
Number 9.
Okay, number 9.
What happened to 7 and 8?
We just did 'em.
They get canceled.
Oh, those are, I'm sorry.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, they're not ready yet. They'll
Okay,
be
sorry.
hopefully next meeting.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah, number 9's the follow-up report. We've been talking about this now for the last few meetings. And the IDC, was still interested in the concept of looking at the zoning along Main Street between downtown and the Hopedale Town line. And Peter Scandoni, who's here as a member of the IDC, and does have a couple of weeks' experience in property evaluation, had offered to go out and do the windshield survey, which he has done. So this was just a write-up of his results, just a brief explanation of what his background is and what the criteria were that he used in making the evaluations. It also shows the breakdown by generalized land use category, and then compares the various land uses with the conditions, either by category of use, or gives you an ability to compare one category to another. The last paragraph actually tries to get at that. I'll just read that. Generally speaking, it would appear that the condition of the properties may have a relationship more with whether there is an absentee owner versus whether they are commercial or residential. However, there appears to be a definite disparity within the residential uses, with the 2+ units at 48% in poor condition compared to only 26% of the single-family units being in poor condition. So it's also unclear whether the commercial zoning that has existed in this area on Main Street, virtually unchanged since it was adopted in 1946 with the first zoning bylaw, and was only renamed to the CB designation. The area is still the same. It was renamed to CB District with the new comprehensive zoning amendment in 1965. So the following maps show, as they're quickly labeled there, the existing zoning scheme, and you can see the medium gray shade running from downtown out toward the medical center on Main Street as being CB. The second map shows the various properties just with simple dots on the properties that were found to be in relatively good condition. The next map are the ones that Peter had evaluated as being in fair condition. Next map is the poor condition properties, and you can see they're kind of scattered around. And then the last sketch map was just a possible scheme that we've been looking at, and I'd been looking at for quite some time, in terms of how to continue to utilize the new office residential zone. And you can see on that last map, the existing office residential zone running north of Water Street in the light gray shade. You can just barely read the OR designations within it. But the concept would be obviously to extend that OR zone to all of these properties running out to the Hopedale town line, as they're shown here on this sketch map, with the exception of the areas that have what I would say are legitimate commercial developments on them. Whether they're in great condition or not, something else, but to the extent that you have an area like the Alston Auto Parts, that's a legitimate business. There's been a business use there for years, and if you go back and look at the conditions maps, that they're in fair condition. So there would be 3 major CB zones with the zoning boundaries actually expanded away from the street far enough to include the entire properties, as opposed to just do the ribbon along the street. And would also expand the CB zone down at Water and Main to go all the way over to Mayhew Slip, instead of, as you can see on all of the prior maps, the zoning district right now cuts right through all those lots that front on Mayhew Slip, which doesn't necessarily make any sense. At any rate,
Go ahead.
that's how far we've gotten.
Okay, again, when we did the OR zoning, where we did it, I thought it fitted well. I thought it was a very good thing to do. I don't feel that the OR zoning fits in this. I feel the CB does fit in okay. And Joe, if you were talking about trying to get change the zoning so the zoning line ran with the properties rather than just a line down the street, which I think would probably be the best thing. And that would be the way I'd like to rezone, to do this. And again, what are we gonna do about the hospital area from there? We're talking about rezoning that.
Yeah, well, certainly the area that's currently CB, basically from Orange Slip back to Water Street, it would make sense to, if it's gonna stay CB, the zoning boundary ought to be on the property lines instead of where it is.
Absolutely.
The area west of Orange Slip, including the medical center property and all those other parcels up Prospect Street that front on Prospect Street, it still might make some sense to include that in the office residential zone, especially in the context of potential future development that would be related to hospital use. That would be a medical-type office or medical-related uses. And you would be able to provide for those things without necessarily kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater in that area, because going in a higher zone now brings in a whole bunch of other uses that are big traffic
Okay,
generators.
where were you just talking about now from,
Larry, hold your thought for one quick second, Dave.
yeah,
Have we received anything back as far as, they were talking about the re-signalization of the lights in 16 and so on and so forth, and the elimination of parking along Main Street? I think we need to have clarity on that before we start talking about rezoning and so on and so forth, because you eliminate all the parking.
We can't do that.
You're taking away a lot of.
Well, but if this were put in an OR zone, the majority of it is already the hospital campus.
Get that,
But
Larry.
any new development would have to have their own off-street parking anyway.
And I'm just saying, just be careful.
No, but there are homes on that street.
Precisely, and now I'm more concerned about what's gonna end up happening if the elimination than I am about talking about rezoning. I think we're gonna,
Exactly.
if you start changing zoning and then all of a sudden we start taking away people's options and so on and so forth, then what have we created?
You can have the highway surveyor come in, or his
I just-
consultant come in and explain the concept of how they were gonna handle
Well,
the
they were supposed to
lanes
get back, I
on.
thought that we were gonna get some sort of memo back from them when they asked us for our input. I'm just, I just
haven't
don't
heard
know where
back.
we are.
I'll have to check on that, but
Yeah.
the thing is, as far as the land use and zoning issues, is that there are, how would you say it, development pressures that aren't gonna care whether the street's fixed or not. In fact, they'd prefer to see the signal in and the street done as proposed. That if we stop analyzing this to wait until a project that's trying to get on the tip gets done.
I'm not asking you to
we're
stop
kind of shooting
analyzing it.
ourselves in the
I just
foot.
would like to know, since that was brought in front of us, I think 2 meetings ago, I'd just like to know if there's any follow-up with the concerns that we
I'll
have.
find out from
That's-
Scott.
I think that's a little more pressing, in my opinion.
Well, I'll find out from Scott if he's got anything back from the consultant. I did talk to him about it and got the impression that the elimination of parking was on one side of the street, not the other. It wasn't clear which side was which or whether it alternated. But
Yeah.
I'd just like
I
to
can-
get some
I can
clarity
add
to that,
anything
that's
in.
all.
I don't think he could have done it without being both sides, to be honest. Unless
that's
he's
why I'd like to
confused
get
what's on there, because I don't think it's on it. I think the only way he can do it is go to, I mean, I know what the pressure is that he's under with the state, is he's gotta show a bike lane, but I think the only way he's gonna be able to do it on that street is to show it as a sharrow, and do a shared bike lane, pedestrian lane, or not pedestrian, a shared bike lane, travel lane. It's the only way you're gonna do it. Whether that works or not is immaterial, but that's what the state's gonna require. And then you can put the parking back in, but I think that's the only way you get away with it.
But I'm just concerned on our behalf that to the extent that the planning board, in my estimation, the planning board ought to be the primary proponent on zone changes as opposed to waiting until somebody comes in with a proposal that only affects a limited number of properties. That if we can get our heads around concepts that make sense to the town, then we ought to do it if we can. And if we can get more information on the roadway, I'll get it for you. But I would hate to see us miss out on getting ahead of all this, because there are gonna be.
Getting ahead is one thing. The OR, when we created the OR zone, was up on Congress Street, where the buildings are there, existing,
sense.
and they're very nice. One of those buildings on the right-hand side of, Main Street,
You need
after-
6 of them to make it work.
Right, and they're just not made to be part of the OR zone. Even the Locken Realtors, it's not a building that type of zoning was made for. Again, we have the CB zone there. If they do it, they have to provide for parking and everything, and that will eliminate some of the problems we have with the off-street stuff, so. Again, they have to have the amount of parking for what's there, so.
Well, but nothing has changed in 70, almost 70 years, that the CB zone really hasn't encouraged anybody to do much along there.
But I don't know if that's gonna lend itself to an OR zone, if it's gonna do anything more, just because of the size of the lots.
Right.
Well, the OR zone is in essence an overlay to the RA zone. The basic uses in the OR zone first are all the RA uses. And then the OR uses are all special permit through the planning board. To do that very thing is to make sure that any new proposal is gonna have adequate off-street parking. If they don't, I doubt that you're gonna approve a special permit. So I guess that was even when we first, the first application from water to west was primarily characterized by a number of large older homes. There were still other lots that were small lots that if you were to develop them as an office, you would definitely need to start assembling several small lots, the same as if it were in a commercial zone anyway. So that potential has always been there in the OR zone. We just got kind of bogged down in applying it to the rest of the area that we were looking at that time. But now with the kinds of interest that there appears to be in this area, certainly to the westerly end near the Hopedale town line, I would hope we could still, try to figure out some way to deal with that other than
But that's,
RA.
again, that goes back, at the westerly end by there,
You get
goes
the
back,
larger lots again.
goes back to what we had done, why we had done it on Congress Street, because you got the Meridian, house there and the.
Yes.
and the
Yep,
house.
large
and-
older
and-
homes.
Larger
Larger
lots.
older homes, and
Where it
absolutely.
makes sense.
And absolutely, that does make sense there.
Because you can see where the parking would go, you can see the revitalization, you
Right.
can see that.
And again, on the existing one, if they do CB, if they're changing to a CB, it's gonna go by our Pleasant zoning bylaws, and it's gonna look nice. You drive down Central Street now with the small changes that are made with those buildings they put in, it's beautiful
It's
down.
not revitalized.
It's beautiful down there, and that's what this, even though it's a CB, I would say that this is gonna be the same way. It's with the shrubbery and the greenery we have to put in, plus the parking, I don't see a problem just leaving it CB. And again, going back to the westerly side, that moves into the OR area, and, again, I agree with you 100%, that's where it belongs. Any other?
No, you're doing good.
Well, if you, I guess to stay with the concept of fixing the zoning lines, many of these suggested OR lines would in essence be the new CB line.
Yeah, the
To
existing-
adjust the old strip zone to be where it should have been in the first place.
Correct.
All right. Well, I'll take a shot at that for next time.
Moving right along.
Haven Street.
Okay, next we got the
81P.
81Ps.
I have no idea.
First one should be Kathleen Hearn, 27 Haven Street. You may recall, this was recently granted the variance. I think it was both, was it width and frontage? At any rate, the plan that you have in front of you on the small sheet is the same plan that was, yeah, right there. It's up there.
Yeah.
In front of B.
There's a plan in front of you.
It's up there.
Oh, it's up here, I'm sorry.
It's up there, you moved it. So that plan is the plan that they got the variance for, so it's endorsable as submitted.
Motion, we have Larry sign the 81P.
Second?
Well, moved in second, we have the,
Approve the
approve
81P.
the
not sign.
81P. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous of 5. Here's the, sign sheets. Oh, yeah.
The next one's Vineyard Point Ventures, 33 Woodland Ave. It's on the corner of Woodland Court and Woodland Ave. It splits the last remaining lot. The house, it's got an existing residence on it, to create one more building lot. In spite of how irregular it appears, it actually does meet the shape factor. And it's going to be possible to put at least a 26 by 56 house on it. And it's endorsable as submitted, but it is possible to do a single-family dwelling on there without a variance, which was my first question when I saw it.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Pat, seconded by Joe, that we sign the 81P. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous of 5.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Pat to adjourn, seconded by Lena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good evening.